inspire greatness at track number 9. Stay on the right track and let your light shine. Step by step, reach for what's true. Track number 9, your greatness is waiting for you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is your hostess with the mostest, Monica Cooper. Welcome to track number 9. Thank you guys for joining me once again on your cell phones, on your laptops, on your computers, in your living room, in your cars, sipping your tea, sipping your coffee, making your runs, running your errands this morning. So first, let me say, I'm glad that we all made it to see another Saturday morning. Second, I want to say this is a pre-recorded show, and what this monologue is actually pre-recorded. So thank God for modern technology where we can work our magic. And also thank God for modern science. Modern science saved my life. Yours truly had a heart attack on Sunday around 5, maybe about 7:30, almost 8 o'clock at night. This past Sunday, I had a heart attack. I went to the hospital, to the emergency room. They checked me in. They rushed me over to another facility, and the doctors worked their magic. And as a result of God leading their hand and saving my life, I'm grateful to be here. I can't even tell you what it feels like to survive a heart attack. It is, I'm still processing it. It's not even 7 days yet. So I'm still processing it. So one, I'm grateful. That's why it always pays to do as much good in the world as you can, so that when you need the grace of your Lord and Savior, He will give you grace and grant you grace. And I'm just glad that it wasn't my time. It was not my time. I had more work to do. So here I am. Track number 9. Here we are. Yes, this is a pre-recording. So enjoy the show. And what we will have for you today, because of course, election season is heating up. I believe it is June the 11th that starts early voting. We're here at the primary elections here in the state of Maryland. It's heating up, especially in the 41st district. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to rerun an interview that we did with Delegate Sean Stinnett, because people have been curious about, his work, what he's doing, and in the 41st district, and everybody knows the heated controversies that's going around in there. Something that that I don't want to necessarily talk about at this moment, because it really is up to the voters. And I just think that it's let people hear from the guy. So that's one of the reasons why we had him on the show. And this is your opportunity to send this link out to people who you think may be interested in hearing from him. Also, for people who have already seen the interview, you can go back and listen to what he was saying about his work, about what he want to do, about the stuff that he want to continue to do in Annapolis. I thought it was a very good interview. And I want other people to see Delegate Sean Stinnett's interview. And of course, we had Delegate Malcolm Ruff. We had Delegate Malcolm Ruff on this show as well. And folks were able to hear from him. We've had the East Baltimore representative, Senator Corey McCray, Delegate Jackie Addison. We've had some potential folks that are in the running in the 40th district, Crystal Parker, a sister, Marsha Browley, another 41st district, a contender in Miss Shanice Anderson. So all are welcome. If you know Republicans, independents, it doesn't matter. This is a bipartisan show, and we try not to get into the muck and mire of things. We simply want people to hear from folks, because our goal is to help us to get on the right track, and that is whoever's leading us. They need to lead us to the right track. But again, I'm grateful to be here. God is good. all the time. I'm still smiling. I'm just as happy as I was 7 days ago. God is always present, always in my life, and I'm always grateful. In the hospital, out of the hospital, I am grateful. Today, we were supposed to have our track number 9 live show. We are going to change the date. We're going to push that date back. We still will be fellowshipping. We're still going to meet. We're still going to have a good time. And we are still, it's prayer time. Amen. We are still going to have that celebration, if you will. So please look for that information. It's still going to be at the B&O Museum. We just have to change the date. Nothing's going to keep us from each other, that's for sure. The last thing is that you can still donate. This is a free event. It's totally free. If you want to donate, you can. That is the donate link that you see. You can go to Give Butter. Take a picture of that, if you will. I will continue to send that out in people's text messages and your emails. I'll put it all on social media for those who can and will donate so that we can continue to do the work at the Maryland Justice Project. We're working on a garden at the transitional house that we have, Bridges to Blossom. So we are asking for some help and some donations to kind of continue to move this work. We do a lot of work. And when I say we, me, I do an awful lot of work. And we need some funds. We need some help. So anyway, enjoy the show. I love y'all. I'm still here. Track number 9, we're still on the right track, and we're going to get it right. Thank you so much.
Track number 9, your greatness is waiting for you.
We have this one beautiful hour that God has given us. So everybody that's listening, everybody that's watching, the first thing I want us to do is say, thank you, God. He brought us right here, right now, in this hour. We could have been anywhere else, but I'm glad you're with me. Today, we have a gentleman that's done so much. Oh, Gail Evans. Good morning, Sister Gail. She's here in the studio. Thank you for joining us. But we have a gentleman on today, Brother Aaron, good morning, that's done so much work in Baltimore, in the city. Hey, Brock. And I wanted folks to hear from him the work that he's doing for Baltimore City and for the residents, and it impacts the entire state, to be honest with you. He actually sits on the Judiciary Committee. And some of you may not follow politics. Some of you may not follow the legislature. But here in Baltimore, good morning, Ms. Gwen. But here in Baltimore and in Maryland, our legislative sessions are only 90 days. They are from January until April. And during that time, they hear almost Ms. Dorothy Cunningham, good morning. And during that time, these folks hear about 3,000 bills. And it's a lot of work. Hi, Michelle. That's my job corps buddy. But it's a lot of work that goes into policies. And I had spoken, before we had Senator Cory McCray on before. We had Delegate Jackie Addison. They talked about some of those things they do. But everything that we do is policy related, whether it's food. If you don't want chemicals in your food, then you got to pass laws that says that the Food and Drug Administration need to make sure that our food look like the Europeans' food. If you look at something, the Fanta soda, they have like 3 ingredients on that soda. They have oranges, sugar, and water, or cane sugar and water. If you look at ours, it's got like 100 different things on it. So everything, whether you want to go to the school you want to go to, that was policy, that was legislation. I don't know if you study history, but you remember they had to have armed guards to escort those young children when they integrated schools. All of that stuff is policy. Your SNAP benefits, policy. Whether or not they get cut, whether or not they get reduced, whether or not you get cut off, period. Every single facet of our lives. BG&E. Somebody need to call them. God knows they get on my nerves. But BG&E, all of that stuff is oversight, and it's policymakers that actually help to regulate those prices and everything. So I could go on about voting, about policies, about traffic lights, dumping in your community, your health care, you taking care of your grandchildren. All of that stuff is policy. All of that stuff is legislation. So we have a champion in the studio today. I'd like bring in brother Sean Stinnett. He represents the 41st legislative district, guys. And hey, Amir, good morning. And I know that some of you, I know that this is your representative, so you get to hear directly from brother Sean Stinnett. Good morning, Miss Leah. And as I had mentioned, he's actually on the Judiciary Committee, which receives the majority of the bills that go through Annapolis, and it's so much that's happening, whether it's with juveniles, whether it's working to get a woman's pre-release center built. It's a lot of bills that come through his committee, but he's doing so much more than that. So that's why I wanted you guys to actually hear from him. Good morning. How you doing, Delegate Sean?
Good morning. Good morning. I am fine. I am fine and well. How are you? And thank you for having me this morning.
Oh man, I'm doing pretty good. I apologize. My dogs are making all this noise in the background, and they dogs. That's what they're gonna do. I would say, for the sake of the audience, stop running, but they dogs. Just like when you have children, children are going to run and play. So hey, it is what it is. But I want to welcome you to the show. And
Yes.
the first thing I'd like to ask, and I know that the audience, especially for people who don't necessarily know you or know your journey and how you got to this point, give us some background on how did you end up deciding that I'm going to represent these folks, and give us a background. Where did you grow up?
Sure. So good morning once again. I'm Delegate Sean Stinnett, and I'll always start off by saying I'm born, raised, educated in Baltimore City. I can say that I pretty much spent I would say almost my entire life in the 41st district, whether being over in Northwest and attending Grove Park Elementary School, or even over in the Southwest area, growing up in the Westgate community and attending West Baltimore Middle School, and then the best high school in the city, Baltimore School for the Arts. And of course, that second best, I always say, when I go back and forth with the mayor, the second best is City College, City Forever. But yeah, so as I mentioned, just born, raised, and educated in Baltimore City, and also even raised my family here in Baltimore as well, particularly in the West Arlington community, which that's definitely my home. However, sort of been behind the scenes throughout the years. Family has been into politics for a long time, behind the scenes as well. I'm the first legislator within my family that has gotten selected in the position. But overall has always sort of had my hands in the pot in terms of, a lot of community work and a lot of advocacy and so forth, a lot of youth development and everything. I lead a group of kids called Baltimore Clean Streets, and we do a lot of phenomenal work as far as in the communities, whether it be in the Northwest and the Southwest part of the district, as far as cleaning up areas. But what got me into this into this realm of politics and being one of the delegates for the 41st, of course, there was an opening that sort of raised the opportunity for me to put my name in the hat, which I did. And there was at least, I would say it was about, I was one of 12 individuals who put their name in the hat. But pretty much, I believe that, and it's been said that pretty much my selection came from because of the work that I've been doing, 15 plus years consistently in the community. And that's what it's been all about. Like I said, I've been in positions as president of the West Arlington community, president and vice president of the Northwest District CRC, which is the Community Relations Council, district chair of the Hopkins District, and vice chair of the Thurgood Marshall District within the Baltimore area Boy Scouts. Board member within my own alumni council with Baltimore School for the Arts. Been on several boards like Expressive Forever Dance and so forth. So I've always had my feet on the ground as far as me actually doing work consistently, because that's the thing about it. And that's why pretty much I put my name in the hat, because I just got tired of the fact that, I saw folks getting selected or elected, and they had no connection in the community. Folks that no matter what, even the some of the individuals that were on the state central committee that gave me their vote and support, one particular say, hey, you've been a pain in my butt for so long, but I can't deny the fact that you haven't done the work, and you've done the work consistently. And that's where a lot of people cannot say that. And that's where I can say that I've said that. You may not always agree on what I do or what sort of direction I go towards. However, at the end of the day, you have to agree. You definitely have to look at it and say, look, I've been consistent and I've done the work in my community.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. Now, you did mention, because we're going to go into some of those things that you're working on this legislative session. But before we do, I want to say good morning to Sister Denise Reed. She's one of the chaplains with Baltimore City Police Department. Sister Darlene Kane, everybody knows the work that she does around town. And you might not know this guy. That's my cousin Gregory. Cousin Gregory is here. I'm sure you know Patrice Bimbo. That is
I love the best couple in the city.
Yes, sir. So I just wanted to let you know that some of the people that's here that took a minute during this early cold Saturday. Oh, Brother Dale Green, that's a friend of mine. He's here. Thank you, Dale. But those folks took their time out. It's not easy getting up this early in the morning and as cold as it is. So I really appreciate folks getting their coffee, tuning in on their phones, tuning in on their drive to go get coffee at Dunkin' Donuts, looking at us on their tablets and everything. So I appreciate that. Brother Robert Winslow. We have Miss Tia Richardson. So we have a lot of folks that's here. But you had mentioned the Baltimore School of the Arts.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Now, rumor has it that you once knew a young man who, unfortunately, he's no longer with us. But they say that you were friends with Tupac Shakur.
Yes. Which back in the day we called him two. So there's a famous picture that floats around with sometimes some publications cut me out, but it's a three picture, in our young days when we were in the 10th grade, and I want to say on the 5th floor of the building, myself, Tupac Shakur, and Jada Pinkett Smith. We're in that famous 3-person picture and so forth. So we represent class of 1989, which is the best class. And I love the school. The school is definitely a home to me. We were there back when it was only 150 people at the whole school. So everybody was close. And the thing about it, I think what the school taught me back then is just to work hard, not judge. We are all family. No matter you had, Black, white, Jewish, Muslim, Republicans, Democrats. We didn't understand and know any of those backgrounds, so to speak, because we just looked at ourselves as being family, and we were all and continue to be all supportive. I tell you, when I campaigned for a delegate years ago, I had a number of my friends, in which I call family, that supported me, that were Republicans and so forth, because they knew what value and knew what I brought to the table. It wasn't all about party lines and so forth. So, it's all love with my BSA family.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's interesting that you should mention the children. For some reason, children, just like folks say, when you put them all in the sandbox together, they don't know anything about race. They don't know anything about white supremacy. They don't know anything about, none of this stuff. And it's unfortunate that as children grow up, society and parents and everything just really jade them and cause them to act and respond to other human beings in a certain way. So commercial that comes on, it says, if you don't teach your children racism, they just might not learn it. Mm-hmm. So I think we definitely should all do better when it comes to the children. One of your assignments is the judiciary.
Yes.
That is a lot of action come through the judiciary. I can't even imagine the amount of bills, especially criminal justice reform. I can't imagine how many bills you guys see through that legislative session. I know it's got to be at least in the hundreds.
Oh
If
yeah,
not
yeah. I
help.
mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a lot. And like I said, once I learned after getting sworn in last session around in March that I was going to be assigned to judiciary, I already knew that one, I was ready for the challenge. Two, I knew that it was going to be a lot, and it was going to be a lot as
Mm,
far as not only as far as on the professional aspect or the political aspect of it, but even emotional. Because there's a lot of stories as far as coming from and people experience on both sides of the table. But I knew that, I needed people like you. I needed people like, Jeanette Graham with No Struggle, No Success, and Trina over Out for Justice, and Christopher Dews, and his work as far as in partnership with, Center for Urban Families and everybody. I know I needed them to make sure that I understand what was coming through as far as legislative wise, because it was going to be a lot. I can say that I relied on my colleague, Delegate N. Scott Phillips, as far as in really, educating me and to make sure that understanding what these bills meant and what they were pretty much overall what they wanted to do in terms of, for us as far as passing or denying those bills. So, but yeah, it's a lot, and I tell you what's really surprising to me, and I think I'm surprised that I am surprised is that it's the amount of emails and the amount of communication coming from the community is saying either, they're in favor or they're not in favor of certain bills and everything. So it's a different perspective because, I come from a background of procurement and minority and veteran-owned business development. But I'm really, really gravitating and really, fulfilling this experience.
oh, that's good. You mentioned you have a background in business development.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I remember you were had a
Yep.
role. Oh
I see they
wow,
got
look at
the
that.
PSA. They don't have me in there, so
Way to
I'm
cut my man out of the
I'm
picture.
on
Come
they
on
cut me
now.
out. But that's the picture. You got to find the one that's with me.
Yeah, they done crop my man out the picture. It's all good.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all good because we know that you were there.
Right.
We
Yes,
know.
yes, yes,
In
yes.
fact, somebody had put in the questions asked, did you know a guy named Reggie Love supposed to be the first president of the School of the Arts?
Yes. I knew Reggie Love. Yeah, yes. Yeah. I tell you,
Oh,
like I said,
okay.
we knew everybody, you know what I mean? Because it was only 150 people at that time. And now it's, it's big, which some people don't think is big. Now I think it's the population at the schools maybe a little bit over 400 and some, and still that's large.
Hmm.
But yeah, no matter what, the one of the things that BSA, they never fall short as far as bringing in the talent of finding and accepting these phenomenal students within Baltimore City and outside of the city, as far as they continue to find great talent as far as in these students.
Hmm. Okay. I know. I ride by there. They be sitting in the doggone middle of the street.
Yeah. Well, you gotta
On the corner.
check
They
out the
try to get on my
performances.
nerves coming up there that street, Madison. But
Right.
it's all
Yeah.
good. The kids got to get in the cars. They got to get home safe. And parents these days, they like to pick their children up from school if they
Oh
can,
yeah.
which I
You
totally
got to. But
understand.
I never got that. That option. I had to ride the bus. It was times that the school was because we had to be at the school. I want to say around about 7 o'clock, 7:15, and then the end of the day was 4:10. If you were in every major with the exception of dance got out 4:30 unless we had tech rehearsals and practices and so forth. So I was in the music department and I played the trumpet. So I was there with the likes of Ron Baker, Antonio
Mm.
Hart, phenomenal musicians. And actually the one, our prodigal son, our son of Baltimore that's touring around, Dante Winslow, he shadowed me right before he came to the school. So now he's doing phenomenal work. Him and Mashika, his wife, and kids. Dante is touring around with Justin Timberlake all over the world and so forth. So it warms my heart when I see my classmates and my brothers and sisters of BSA as far as doing great work around the world.
Okay, are you any good? You still know how to play?
Oh, I always still know how to play. I still got my chops, but I don't do it as much. You know
Okay,
what I mean? I
okay.
do it once in a blue moon. My mother always said, She wants to get me, when we have a Veterans Day or Memorial, get out there and play taps and stuff like that. But I pick up my trumpet every now and then as far as for kids, for students. You know what I mean? But I don't do anything professional, anything like that. But I may surprise some folks one day. Maybe I'll toot my horn on the floor in the house, in the state house.
Okay. Well, before we go any further, I always like to shout out the people that come and join. We got Carly Thomas, Robert Winslow, Sister Terry Mason. She's with the National Council of Negro Women. Do phenomenal work. Sister Connie Bridges. Connie Bridges is here. Adrian Muldrow. Everybody know Brother Adrian for the work that he do around town. So again, I want to thank everybody for being here. But before we go any further, because Gwen Levi asks, what are some of the bills that you are sponsoring in terms of criminal justice reform and stuff like that, and just bills in general? But before we move on, I'm sure many of our listeners have heard the unfortunate incident with Senator Dahlia Attar, and I'm sure everybody has an opinion. Me, myself, especially on this show, I am a neutral party. This is a bipartisan show. We don't have an opinion. We don't have a dog in the fight. Track number 9 is simply here to help get us on the right track and stay on the right track. That's what this show is all about. It's about our community. It's about the love we have for one another. It's about our connections. We are the tracks. I'm track number 1. Somebody else is track number 2. Somebody else is track number 3. Our connections causes us to be the track. So we are the track and we are the community. But I'm sure that people want to know, where do you stand on this Senator Dahlia Attar situation? Because I see you as your own person. Right. I don't see you connected to nobody, because for the last 15 to 20 years, it was you out there doing the work. It wasn't no senators, no delegates, or nobody. It's always been Sean Stinnett doing the work. And the support that Sean Stinnett has received has been because of your work and not who you are standing next to. So let's kind of get that out of the way. So that people can finally hear that, hey, this is what it is.
Right. And I'm glad you brought that up, and I appreciate that. And that's why I tell people, instead of all this sort of chatter and conversation on the outside, but no one, comes to reach out to me. Everybody has their own speculation and assumptions. And of course, we have a lot of social media activists that's out there and so forth. But all I can say as far as that, I have no hand or no control as far as what's happened. It's an unfortunate situation that the senator is going through. However, at the end of the day, my thing is, judge me as far as on what I'm doing, and as far as within the legislature. I am aware, and of course the delegation, 41st delegation is aware of what's happening, and all I can do as far as give my prayers and give my best, and hopefully that things will come out into her favor, or whatever kind of things that flush out. And like I said, I have no control on what's happening, but I would just like to ask just the people, judge me as far as personally what I'm doing as far as in the legislature this session right now. That's what I have control over, and like I said, all I can do is as far as in hear and read and see what's going on just as much as everybody else is doing. But I'm not speculating. I do not know as far as exactly or what the true facts of the whole situation. We just all have to at the end of the day have to wait and see it out, and just have to go from there. But I'm just asking folks that, of course, clearly I am aware. However, you judge me as far as on what I'm doing as far as in the legislature right there and then in real time.
Yeah, understood. So there you have it, folks. You heard it straight from the delegate himself, straight from him, his position on this situation that's going on. Now that we've got that elephant out of the room, let's talk about some of your work. I think one of the listeners, Gwen Levi, had asked about some criminal justice stuff, which, that really is interesting work, again, in the judiciary because of the juvenile bills that come through there. and because everybody has a different opinion about how our juveniles should be addressed and handled.
Right,
You
right,
know?
right. Yeah. So yeah, I got several things, and my apologies for not able to give you House bill numbers as far as what I'm
That's okay.
through, because they're coming. We just got some co-sponsors as far as through a number of my bills. I actually put in about 10 bills that I'm actually sponsoring for this session, but two of the top judiciary bills that I put through. One is for criminal procedure and the motion to reduce duration of sentence. Another one is establishing a commission to redesign the expungement statute. So those are two of the judiciary bills that I'm putting through. But also, it's some other bills that I'm looking to champion that I think is going to be really bring some significance. Another one is one is early child care sexual abuse prevention training. And this particular bill is in reference to my good friend who had unfortunately had served some time as far as Shani Weems when she had dealt with the situation that found her husband had sexually abused some daycare children that she had as clients. When she had got out, she's been a friend of mine for some years, and I've always supported her. So what we're trying to do is make it mandatory, a requirement for child care providers to take that sexual abuse training. Right now, it's an elective. What we're trying to make it mandatory, so folks can kind of understand and knowing as far as what the signs, if they can tell, if they can, if they're aware of any type of sexual abuse that has been placed upon as far as these children. Also, another bill that I'm championing. Like I said, I apologize that I don't have the House bill number just yet. But public schools, the mental health therapists. This is in reference to, it's unfortunate that about 2 years ago, I had a relative of mine, a young relative of mine, commit suicide. And what this bill talks about as far as requiring, a mental health therapist in every Maryland public school, because I think this is something that we don't address enough, especially with our youth. As far as ever since the pandemic, I think the mental, health issues as far as dealing with our youth has risen. And we're seeing a lot of more young people as far as committing suicide. So we need to really address that and really attack that even more as far as in terms of, helping out our youth and so forth. And, dealing with the youth is very dear to my heart as far as everything what I do, whether it be in Boy Scouts, Baltimore Clean Streets, and so forth. But I think that we definitely need to address that mental health crisis within our youth a lot more and a lot more effective, because we have nurses at these Maryland public schools, but we just don't have enough. And a lot of those nurses are not actually trained in terms of mental health.
Okay. We got a little studio break there. There we go. We back. That's all. Whenever things happen like that, I always say that's always God giving us a sign. And I like to think of it as a good sign. If something happens, I say, all right, God is present, giving us a pause. And I'd like to take a brief pause just to say that I am not a proponent of violence at all. But I can say that sister, Shani Weems, had so much support. She had a lot of support. Now, she shot this guy, like but so many people were saying I may have done the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely not a proponent of violence, but she is looked upon as a hero, as a protector of the youth. And like I said, I stay loyal to my friends, to loyal friends, like you, and much love. And I traveled down to DC. Like I said, I wasn't in the position, I didn't make it known. I didn't put it on social media, but I made sure that I traveled down to DC to testify on her behalf, to with the hopes of her not having to serve time. I did that on my own. The family and her phenomenal friendship that she has amongst her sisters, and so that said, look, Sean, we need you to come down. And I did that, on my own to make sure that, I had to, step up and exercise my voice, to support my friend.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly glad Sister has returned to the community. And like, most listeners here, they don't know how they would respond and react when it comes to protecting their children. And
Right.
these weren't even her children. And she felt like I should have been able to protect these children, I imagine. And I think when we consider crime, sometimes, I think that's why the judges are encouraged to look at the background of the person, to see what was this person's mindset when this happened. Did they just lose a child themselves? Did circumstances in their life cause them to do that? Was they on drugs and stuff like that? So
Right.
I always encourage people, when we think about what happens in the judiciary proceedings and in JPR, which is the Senate side, and what happens in judiciary in the House, I think that people should tune in more to see what these bills are, especially on criminal justice reform. We have a reduction in homicide that is amazing.
Yeah.
138, unfortunate souls. If we could get to zero, of course,
Exactly.
that should be the objective. But something is going right in our city when it comes to violence and when it comes to the work of We Are Us, the work of the state's attorney, the work of our mayor. I like to think that it's all of these things that are combined. The African American Male Engagement Center under Dr. Andre Bunley, the work at Langston Hughes Community Center.
But it's all over. It's the people.
The community mediation.
And that's what we don't talk enough about. It's also, it's just like you said, it's a combination of efforts coming from every little entity. And that's where we sort of, I hate these reports and saying that who should get the credit. I would say the first folks that should get the credit, because I think it's always been missing and it's always sort of been a plead on the community's input. But the community should be first and foremost. You know what I mean? Then, then the mayor, then the state's attorney, then the nonviolent organizations and so forth. But and the community associations and so forth. It's a collective effort on driving these numbers down. So it's not just one person. One person is not the savior coming into the city and saying, "Hey, this is what I'm doing, and this is it. I get all the credit." No, it's a collective effort, and I truly feel that it starts with the people.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when you mention the community associations. We have Miss Ardelia Wilson, the CRC president, Miss Jackie, they call her Mama Bear from up there, Emerson Village, Miss Dorothy Cunningham, she's here today from Irvington Community.
Phenomenal.
We have up there Allendale.
I was just telling somebody, follow the red hair. That's Miss Dorothy.
Yeah, we have the Allendale community over there that's in your district.
Cathcart.
Anita Cathcart. We have our brother Maurice Smallwood up there in the Upton community, Monique Washington. We have Miss Daisy Fields. There's so many people in these community associations. Hey, my man Donald Wharton here. What's up, bro?
City family, brother.
That's my brother. Yeah. Hey, Elizabeth Beatty, she's here. That's my home girl. But I think we all should. Good morning, Sarah Citroni. Good morning. But I think we all should look at all of these collective bodies when it comes to movements of peace, movements of reducing violence, and just movement to just help the community get back on track. So many unsung heroes, like those community association presidents that I just named. They are the ones that's making 311 calls to get the trash up. They are the ones that saying we need some lights on this street because we have elders that walk down this street going back and forth to the market and it's too dark for them. So I am, I'm just, I'm in awe. I don't know.
You're talking about the ones, they work just as hard as some of these liaisons for offices that are getting paid to do that job, to do that work. So we don't give enough credit to these association presidents and leaders and so forth, and they're doing it for free. They're doing it because of the love of their own community, and they're not getting paid at all. And they're consistent on as far as what they were doing. You know what I mean? It's just that, and I commend everybody. You know what I mean? It's that, they get the brunt of the complaints, the criticisms and so forth. You know what I mean? And then sometimes some people come into these positions with their own personal agenda just because they want that title, but not willing to do the work. But the ones we need to commend, the ones that are consistent and actively doing the work. And I truly appreciate, because I know I come from that. I come from that crop. That's why I try to tell people, don't give me that negative or that disrespectful term of I'm a politician. No, I'm a legislator, because I'm rooted into the community far too much to call myself a politician. I'm a legislator. I'm here for the community.
Yes, sir. I can appreciate that. I've noticed that some of our best leaders are people who come directly from the community and people who have served the community. The Community Association presidents, again, I got to give a shout out to Sister Pamela Green up there at in her community. Sister Pamela Green, they just recently got the Ravens, Torrey Smith. He has that recreation center up there now.
Yep.
And it is it's coming along beautifully.
Right,
and those are the things I get choked up when I think about it, because it is rooted in love. When you love your people, when you love your community, when God put this thing into you to be of service, it has to be in you. I don't think that people can go to school and become a person that believes in the service with other human beings. You can't learn this stuff. I don't care how many degrees you got in social work. I don't care how many degrees you got in anything. If it's not in you, it's not in you. This stuff is born in you to be able to give of yourself, your time, and your talent. Because there's so much going on, man. I'm ready to borrow some money from somebody now. Paying these daggone bills and trying to figure out, do I need a part-time job? It's a lot in my own personal life. But because God put this thing in me to be of service to us and our folks, that's what it is. So I have appreciation for Miss Cathcart, Miss Green, Miss Cunningham, all those people that are in your district, that I know y'all have that relationship and everything. So that's what makes it go around. That's what makes the track function, if you will, having that connection. So I definitely appreciate that. I don't know who this person is, Ujima, but they must know you. They asked another question. Do you know about Inward Journey out of Memphis? He said they doing good work down there in Memphis and whatnot. So I just wanted to throw that out at you. But I also wanted to get back to some of the work that you're doing. I know that you created the first national committee or council for the Muslim community.
Yes. One of my goals, that I wanted to do when I came into the legislature last session, the 2025 session, is to rally the Muslim community, not only within Baltimore City, but statewide. We're not, to me, that we have a lot of voices and we have a lot of, groups here and there. We have a lot of either whether it be in Muslim foundations or Muslim communities, as far as, or Muslim councils, as far as across the state. I wanted to establish our first Muslim caucus. I had reached out to our new speaker, Delegate Jocelyn Penny Melnick, and asked her that if I can establish a Muslim caucus, and I got her approval, which I was ecstatic about. Currently we have 3 active and current Muslims in the legislature. We're all in the House. I'm one of them, of course. We have Delegate Kayla Young over in District 45, Baltimore City. And then we have Delegate Sarah Woollock in Montgomery County that represents as far as our faith, as far as faith-based, as far as being a Muslim. And and we have a lot of Muslim staffers within the legislature, even my own. My chief of staff is Kareem Amin in my office. But I wanted to, sort of put this caucus together. We're still working on the overall mission, but put this caucus together to really be able to rally the individuals, everybody together to really focus on different issues, but also at the same time, start bridging those gaps amongst within the Muslim community, but even beyond. Even particularly, with the Jewish community and so forth. Because at the end of the day, we need to work together. We need to figure out, I want to be in those rooms that we have those critical and challenging conversations where a lot of folks that, we point the fingers, we do this, we do that. We got a lot of criticism across the board. But what are we doing as far as to really start bridging the gaps and really start focusing on working together? Because within the 41st, within my own district, it's very diversified. Of course, we're Jewish, with Muslim, with Christian, and so forth. And when we're talking about we want to represent the district, you got to represent the district. It's got to be across the board. It can't just be focused on one aspect or one particular part of the district and so forth. I don't care where you live, because some people say, oh, everybody lives in this certain area, whatever. It's no matter where it doesn't matter. As long as you're being engaged and cohesive as far as across the board. And that's what this caucus is going to be about, as far as addressing those critical, those priorities, and be able to talk about it, to be able to, go in a room somewhere. We may not always agree when we come out, but at least we're working together and figuring out what we can do as far as to better our district, day by day.
Okay. Oh yeah, another one of your constituents is here, Sister Dorothy O'Bannon, up from the Langston Hughes community. She's here. The other thing I wanted to mention, that one of the viewers has said that we need to get back to block captains. I always like that idea, having block captains, and I actually like that idea that the mayor recently had, to have people that wanted to volunteer to remove snow. I thought that was a really good idea, to have a 311 line where people could call and have volunteers come out that's willing to shovel elderly folks snow and stuff like that. I think that's a really really good idea.
Yeah, it was a really good idea. But I think, one of my things that I hope that we go back to, as far as what we had some years ago, is that youth program as far as snow removal. 10 years ago, when we had this storm, but 10 years ago we had that Snowmageddon. We had that youth program in the city, that I know that myself and friends like Quasi Yossi of the Baltimore Terps and Ben Groff and Ben Smith, myself and Quisi, we had the West Side or Northwest, and then my friends Ben Smith and Ben Groff, they had the East Side. Baltimore City DOT contacted me and said, look, we need help because we got this snowstorm that's coming. Do you have some kids? We had about 15 kids on the West Side, 15 kids on the East Side. And what we were digging folks out, the older adults, the disabled, and so forth. And the issue was back then that the city was paying them $50 per storm. I was able to negotiate, said, look, this storm is beyond other storms. I said for the 3 days, I was able to negotiate as far as with the city to pay the kids at least $50 per day for us going out. So they ended up getting $150 for the 3 days that we were shoveling people out of, out of the walkways, out of the house, and so forth. That's what the program that we need to get back, because we need to put some money into these kids so they can help out, our older adults, our disabled and our people that really can't get out or, get out the house because of the snow. So we need to really bring that program back.
Yeah, I definitely understand. I was out of $40. I was in the back of my home. I was trying to shovel myself, man. I seen these guys with this shovel. They walked by. They looked at me. I said, "Oh yeah, you look like you are." I said, "No, man, come here." I was all out of breath. I paid those guys $40. Do a little shovel out back and hit it out front. You know what I mean? So I definitely understand, and I really liked seeing that. Yeah. Instead of seeing these guys on a corner, just standing there doing nothing, or instead of them needing money, they don't have a job. Instead of them, hitting somebody in the head, trying to get $60 or $40 because that's all we pretty much have in our pocket.
Right.
Time.
No, yeah. I get it.
And you'd be disappointed. They would be mad at me. They robbed me. They're gonna say this lady got dust in her pocket.
Right.
They'd be mad at me for not having no money.
No,
but
I get it. And that's why I enjoy working with kids. I have the Baltimore Clean Street program. You know what I mean? And we go around and navigate, 2.5 to 3 miles picking up trash, because I'd rather see them, and I put $40 cash in their hands, well, let me backtrack. Not in their hands. Everybody loves Cash App now. So I make sure that they get that fun. But yeah, that's what it's all about, as far as building programs, as far as for these young people, so they won't go out and do anything negative. You know what I mean? And from that, I have to really shout out as far as the ones that, gave me the way as far as starting a program like that, in terms of, Dewar Thomas with My Father's Plan, and Munir Bahar. And of course, him, one of the co-founders of 300 Men March movement and so forth. They're the ones that say, hey, you want to start this program of Clean Street program that's in the on my side of town. And that's where we established Baltimore Clean Streets and everything. We received one grant years ago from Baltimore Community Foundation. Outside of that, it was totally funded from just my own pocket. And overall, like I said, I wasn't doing anything special because I think this type of program, everybody should be doing amongst, every community group or neighborhood and so forth. But my thing was, I have about 30 kids and I'm putting these kids to work. It's unfortunate now I can't be as consistent because of course now I'm just down to Annapolis and now this has me going all over. But overall, you got a lot of kids out here that just want to, do something positive, want to be a part of something, and want to just earn a couple of dollars, throw them a couple. I paid $60 because, I'm in Annapolis and I had to get I left my car here in Baltimore because it was snowed in. So I had to get my nephew to come over and say, hey, shovel me out so I can get my car back out and drive down to Annapolis. But yeah, I love to, if a young person want to earn some money and I have the means, hey, we need to support them.
Okay, I want to mention something real quick. Sister Gail Evans wanted to make sure that the listeners know that they need support with the Collegiate School for Boys. I believe that school is on a chopping block. I don't know all the details, but they are trying to organize around getting people to support that Collegiate School for Boys to remain open, which is the education, man. I don't know, as I sit back and I think about policies and the current administration, they have gotten rid of the Department of Education. That's totally gone. It has been dismantled. And it's so sad to see that go because the Department of Education on the federal level was the one place where folks could go to get federal dollars for your school and to get support for your school, because it feels like it take people back. They had this saying, separate but equal, during segregation. Okay, all the black people over here, all the white people over here, or everybody else, we keep folks segregated. And one of the things that the African American community and people of color was saying is that, fine, if we're going to be separate, make us equal. We don't want holes in our roof in our buildings. We want a nice building like you guys have. We don't want torn up books. We want to have books like you guys have. We want comparable education for all babies. And when you get rid of the Department of Education, you no longer have a place where you can go and say, hey, fine, we need to be equitable. We need to have those same resources when we talk about education, because to me, it starts right there. Education is one of the most important tools that you can give to a young person. So many children are coming out of school and can't read.
Yeah.
I was talking on one of our shows, on our previous shows. I said, man, you could go up to one of these boys and say, give me a bag of weed. You got $10 bags. Give me a bag of this and a bag of that. And by the time you finish with them babies, they've been gave you all your money back and the stuff you want. They can't even count their own drug money. And it's tough to watch, but it's going to be okay. I believe our Lord and Savior will lead us and guide us. And all of the people that are tuned in, like Brother Keith Holt. He's
Uh-huh.
amazing. Yeah, that's my guy. He's an amazing.
My man.
Yeah,
I
Brother
love
Keith
Keith.
is
I love
absolutely
Keith.
amazing. That's why I'm like, man, 9 o'clock in the morning, I get all the best and brightest here in this town. And all of the people, just about all of them, I actually know these people personally. And I
Yeah.
know how God is moving them. And I talk about God a lot. There is no separation of church and state up in here. We
Right.
praise the Lord up in here and we thank him and we give him, yes, all of us. Yeah, that's what we're doing here. So there is no separation of church and state. I'm going to mention our Lord and Savior a lot because I'm so grateful for everything that God do for me. And I'm grateful for y'all because I'm loving the connection that we all share, and it's through our Lord and Savior and through love. So that's why we're here.
Right.
Trying to stay on the right track, trying to get on the right track and sharing these ideas. In fact, Tia Richardson just put in there that she wants to volunteer for the racquetball club. My
Yeah.
producer, brother Leon, and the Leon Thomas group, they have a racquetball program for young people, and it is free. Racket Revival, it is free. So if you see that there and you have a young person, you say, well, when you get out of school, we're going to take you out here. It's great to build camaraderie. It's good exercise for them. When they come home, they'll be good and tired. They won't be worrying you. But it's really great for our children. So that's what we're here for, to
Yeah.
be more solution oriented. I don't
Yeah.
want to keep talking. I get tired of that. I've
Yeah.
heard it all before, but to be more solution oriented, if you will.
Yeah, and if I could say real quick, because I'm catching some of the comments and stuff like that, especially in terms of activity. Yeah, Ragba, I had Karan, your producer for the day. Is a phenomenal racquetball player. But in terms of education, and I think that one of the things, me personally, we as parents, I have daughters. And we as parents, we don't do enough as far as to make sure that we think that the all the answers should be coming from the school system. And I don't think that as far as within the home, that we don't do enough as far as making sure that our kids, has the tools, either when they're going to school or when they're not in school. We need to make sure that we're putting, certain tools, and it's a lot of free services. I always talk about, people go to YouTube and Khan Academy, where you can find every subject for free and to at any grade level, as far as for your child, for your student, or for your scholar. You know what I mean? I mean, or even we talk about, school system don't do enough. Are you on the PTO or PTA? I served 9 years on the school family council at the Mount Washington School. What are you doing as far as supporting these groups? And, even if it's not attending meetings every month, but at least attending or being engaged in some type of capacity within the school and beyond the basketball game. You know what I mean? Beyond a sort of sports activity and so forth. What are you doing as far as to make it more feasible and make it more welcoming as far as for your parents? Because as Aaron Jones said, yeah, parents are your first teacher. That's correct. But some people think that it should all come from the school system. Then that's not accurate. We got to do more of our part, and just the village has to do more of our part. So we lay a lot of emphasis on, to me, the wrong individuals, especially in terms of even, I see it more. And I used to be one of those ones that was criticizing, elected officials as well. And seeing that they're not the first one. They're not all. We can't solve all the issues without the community and without parents and without community leaders and so forth doing their part as well.
Yeah. I've been seeing the comments about the children, and I just want to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, to say like the parents are the first, teachers. And unfortunately, in many households, and I've shared my own personal story about my parents and their, issues with drugs, and how I ended up making some bad decisions because what I wanted and was looking for, it wasn't in my home. My parents kept a roof over my head. It was always food on the table, lights never turned out and everything. Hey, good morning, Carly Thomas. She works with Turnaround Tuesday. That's another good friend of mine. Carly's an awesome person. And Turnaround Tuesday do absolutely wonderful work. But I can say my own personal experience from having parents that had issues with drugs, and how as a 12-year-old kid, I had a whole pound of marijuana out there in the streets. And the people who were helping to raise me were adults that was out there in the streets. Hey, Monica, let me get one of them dimes from you for $8.
Right,
Those were a lot of
right.
people who were around me. So, sometimes we have to just look and say, what can I do to help this child? I don't step over the line with young people, but I try to do what I can. It's a young kid. I don't even know this boy's name. I've been seeing him on Pennsylvania Avenue, Launch Street. I see him all over the place. And whenever I see him, I say, hey, come here, man. Here, take this $10. Whenever I see him. And he has been out there raising himself on Pennsylvania Avenue. He will be out there at all hours of the night since he was, I know, about 8 years old. About 8 years old, I've been seeing this little child. And every once in a while, when I run into him, I say, hey, man, this is my number. Call me. And I'm hoping that one day God would allow me to be in the same space as him, finally get his number, learn what his name is, because the kid is almost, I know, got to be about 17. And I've been seeing this little baby for at least a decade. But every time I see him, I always say, I love you. I give him a hug. I say, hey, man, take this $10. I always go in my pocket and get his baby some money. Because if they know that at least one person loved them, when they finally ready to say, I need some help, I'm homeless or whatever, they might just turn to you. So I just suggest to everybody that's listening, if you know young people, we be judging them, because sometimes I be saying these damn retarded kids. I be saying all kind of stuff. I just keep it 100 with my audience.
Well, and
sometimes these kids get on. I don't understand, but I be trying not to judge them and to be there,
Right. No, and I totally agree, and that's why I love, like I said, I love working with kids, and a lot of the lot of the kids that I've been working with, and most recently is through my initiative, Baltimore Clean Streets, and I have kids that are doing phenomenal. I have kids that grown out of the program. I have one young lady, Cheyenne, who is in the Army, that graduated, last year, and myself and her mom, we're just surprised that she wanted to go in that direction and go in the Army. And she had just finished her 23 weeks of boot camp, and she sends me messages and all that, as far as, of course, her in a uniform, and she had challenges, of course, as far as going through it, because, they retrain your mind. But overall, her and like I said, even with my kids going through the program, and just a lot of individuals going through the program, and like I said, even some that still maybe have their challenges and so forth. But overall, it's just great to see these young people, as far as progress, and really awarded through their dreams on what they wanted to do, and to me, it's fun. It's fun, and it's rewarding, because that's my reward. I don't make any type of compensations as far as through this Clean Street program. My reward is seeing the success of these youth.
Okay, wow. We're talking about education, children, and everything. And Miss Dorothy O'Bannon said the homeschooling parents are some of the smartest people you ever want to meet. And I know one day I think I might actually do a show on homeschooling, because I know that that's a growing trend in the country, in the city, in our state, that people are, because you got so many school shootings, you got so much that happen in schools. You used to, say, well, my kid is safe for 8 hours in school. Not always the case sometimes. So that's a good topic to actually discuss in the future. But this has been absolutely amazing. And for all of the listeners and everybody that's here, I told you guys I have a surprise coming up for you. I will make that announcement soon, because I love y'all. So y'all gonna like it. Y'all really gonna like it. My guy, Darnell Wharton, that's my man. I love that dude.
Brother, one of my 300 brothers, my man.
Yeah. I love myself some Darnell Wharton. But I have a big surprise for you guys. It's all out of love. I'm gonna make that announcement soon. But right now, I want to thank our special guest, Delegate Sean Stinnett. I'm glad you were able to get that elephant out of the room, get that stuff on the table. And I'm happy about, the bills and stuff that you are putting. And how can people support you and these bills, and how can they contact you?
Well, yeah, they definitely. One, I appreciate you having me on. I enjoy my time, and it's crazy that hour goes so fast. I wish we had more time, but of
Yes,
course, I
sir.
know that Karan is putting up as far as my email address, Sean SEAN Stinnett STINNETT at house.maryland, and Maryland is spelled out .gov. You can get in contact with me by email, or you down in Annapolis, please. Let's kill all this noise as far as social media and all this. If you want to ask me a question directly. I love
Mm.
seeing people. Love you. Come to me directly as a man, as a woman, as a friend, as a colleague, as an antagonist, whatever how you want to do it. You know what I mean? Just come to me. I'm not afraid. I don't. Hey, it's all business. It's all love. We need people on opposite sides. Telephone numbers 410-841-3268. I'm in room. I'm actually moving to a little bit bigger room. So within the house building. So I'm in room 350 now. I was in 315. I'm actually transitioning my move this weekend, and I'm going to be moving over to room 350. So I'm just have a much bigger space because I've been fortunate enough that even my small little bit of time that this speaker Pena Melnick had gave me the honor of a small leadership position as being one of the deputy majority whips. So that's and also even serving on the house study group of economic stability that I'm going to be working with people like co-chair Delegate Robin Lewis, which I feel that a lot of my colleagues has been very supportive. If I could say that real quickly, my mates, Delegate Kaylin Young, Delegate Jackie Addison, even like I mentioned before, Delegate Scott N. Phillips has been very supportive, as well as former legislative Black Caucus chair, Delegate Janelle Wilkins, who is now the chair of the Ways and Means Committee. A lot of these folks have been very, very supportive to me, and I'm truly honored and appreciative. But folks, if you want to see me, you want to get those answers instead of listening to those third and fourth party folks, come see me in the house, room 350. Please, we won't bite. We can sit down and have lunch as long as Ramadan hasn't started. But as we say, inshallah, hopefully I'll be able to participate in Ramadan. And that's when I have to wait until the latter part of the day, the evenings, to be able to, if we want to sit down and break bread and have that conversation that we need to have.
Yes, sir. We thank you. I also want to thank Delegate Jackie Addison. She dropped by. She's here. She's viewing. We had a previous conversation with her and the wonderful work that she doing. And maybe after the session, maybe I have you guys back to talk about some of your successes and where you are. So definitely, please support these folks, guys. You can always go on the Maryland General Assembly site. And our brother, he has a newsletter. If you want to get that newsletter, click on that link so you can sign up for the newsletter so you can keep up with what he's doing. We want to thank you.
And real quick, February the 16th, Monday, is the day that I'm going to officially announce the start of the Maryland Muslim Caucus, and it's going to be a day or two right before Ramadan. So I want to hopefully everybody can come out who is supportive of this caucus. Our Muslim community, but I think Brother Amir was on here, and everybody. I want to make sure that everybody comes out that day of the session. I think that's Monday, so we're there in the evening. So right now is usually in the evenings. On Mondays we're there at 8:00 on the floor. But hopefully everybody can come out and really support our efforts in that, because that's what that's near and dear to my heart. And that's where we're going to really start pushing things forward.
Okay, yeah, and you want to support these bills, get in touch with our dear Delegate Sean Stinnett. We want to thank you. And if you guys are willing to stay with me maybe 2 more minutes, I have something additional I want to add to you. Thank you, Delegate Stinnett. We are
greatness at track number 9. Stay on the right track and let your light shine. Step by step, reach for what's true. Track number 9, your greatness is waiting for you.